right, Terry. These first two have really kind of been really short and sharp.
I'll take the
I've
time.
probably given you an extra minute or two if you like. Over to you.
Talking about pivotal moments in our lives, we all have them. Sometimes they are fast and furious, loss, car accidents, death. Other times, luckily, they are positive, being the right person at the right place in the right time. Sometimes pivotal moments are universal. If you look at COVID, it has affected everybody. And sometimes, only with hindsight, looking back, do you actually realize that moment was the fork in the path for you. So I take myself back to Wits University, studying a Bachelor of Commerce. And in June of my final year, I decided in all my 20-year-old wisdom, enough, I am dropping out. You can imagine my parents, all that money, all that wasted time. And my dad said to me, there is a 3-month programming course that he's heard about. He will buy me an overseas ticket because all I wanted to do was travel if I completed that course. So I enrolled in Van Salen Pritchard COBOL programming. And you know, it was like coming home. Never in any of those aptitude tests did they pick up IT, but it was music to my ears. I loved that logic. I loved the pure elegance of finding solutions. And that moment honestly changed my life because I have been in IT since then. And one thing I learned was it's called root cause analysis. When the program doesn't work, you go back to basics. You don't assume. And it was the step-by-step logical approach which has helped me in all aspects of my life. And just so you know, I went back to Wits when I was 30 years old, IT manager of a huge corporation, doing Wits full-time, working full-time. I was like the mother to everyone on campus, the oldest person they had ever seen. I was older than my lecturers, but I finished. And when I graduated, your student number is on your graduation, and it said 81, and I graduated in 91. And the professor said to me, eventually. And I think even though I had this so-called awkward approach to my degree, when I went back at 30, it all made sense. I had business experience, I had world experience, and instead of learning stuff in theory, I was learning stuff that I could use and apply. And so for me, it was the perfect career path to start it, have some work overseas and come back. Another pivotal moment for me that changed my life completely was I worked in IT. I was a woman in a man's world. I worked for Otis Elevators, the IT manager, and I had to learn to be faster, quicker, better than everyone to get the respect that I needed. And for years, I was absolutely devoted to my career. I would work every night until 10 o'clock. I would be there on a Sunday, and I loved it. And everyone, I was single, and everyone would say to me, when are you going to have children? And I always said, when I'm 40. Well, guess what? One day I woke up and I was 39, and I went to my gynecologist, and she said to me, oh my goodness, you've left it way too late, not going to happen. Within 2 months, I was pregnant. And I decided I'm going to be one of those corporate moms, take the child to work. Never, ever happened. In that moment, my life changed again. I've never, ever been back to full-time corporate. And in fact, I decided to leave Johannesburg and go and live in New Bethesda in the Eastern Cape, this tiny, tiny little hamlet. And I started working remotely for my clients, still programming. And this is 20 years before it even became fashionable. But for me, coming from Joburg, living in the fast city, I never really had a sense of community. And I found that living in a tiny village, it was like turning a page. I'm going to tell you a quick story. I was running a guest house and a restaurant. We were open 7 days a week, every morning from 7 o'clock in the morning until we closed at night. And I'd done this for 3.5 years in a row. But what I'd done as well is if anyone ever paid with a 200 Rand note that went into a little separate fund, And one day I had enough money to go to Greece for 3 months. And so I got friends who came up from Joburg. It was winter, it was out of season. And my daughter and I flew to Santorini, and we were there for 2 nights. And Louis, who was the husband who was working there, had a very serious heart attack and had to be rushed to Cape Town Hospital. So my friend phoned me, and I was sitting there thinking, so what do? I need this holiday. I worked for 3 years without a day off. Do I just fly home, waste all that money, all those deposits? Or do I try and phone and cancel everything for the next 3 months? And this business that I've tried to build up so hard. And then the next morning, I hadn't reached any decision yet. I got an email from a whole lot of people in the village, and they decided to get together and run my restaurant and guest house with no pay, with no anything. They brought their own recipes, they did their own thing. And I came back and there was even money in my account. And for that was such a big lesson, is that people have your back. Small villages do so well because you're part of a community, which I've never really found in a city. Although forums like this now, in our little townhouse complex, I'm much more community-minded since I've seen the benefits of that. And that spills over into work and how you deal with people and how you treat people in your life, is that you care about them and you know about them as an individual and as a role in a community. And then one day I woke up and I was almost 50. Have you ever had that feeling like, where have all those years gone? And I looked back and it was so much energy climbing up the corporate ladder, that trap of accumulation, and also quite honestly, living the good life. Holidays, theater, dinners, concerts. And I'd had this dream for my whole life of doing a round the world trip. And I thought, how can I do it? I'm 50. I'm single. I've got a 9-year-old daughter. I don't have a rich daddy. I haven't won the lotto. I don't have huge savings. And one day I was sitting on my brown leather lounge suite, and I thought to myself, would I get the same satisfaction from sitting on this lounge suite every single day, or would I get more satisfaction from having breakfast on the Galapagos? And I looked at myself in the mirror and I wondered, could I be a 50-year-old woman who owns nothing? And I decided I was that woman. I wouldn't be tied down by my possessions and the weight of other people's opinions. And so I did what any rational 50-year-old would do. I sold absolutely everything I owned, the house we were living in, the clothes on our back, cars, computers, everything, until I was left with a little pile of money and a backpack that weighed 12 kilograms and Indigo's weighed 8. And we set off on an epic 366-day around the world trip. And I learned so many lessons that year, besides the adventure and the joy. But I learned about traveling light. Our luggage weighed the same for the entire year, 20 Ks together. And I've learned to travel light, not just with luggage, physically, spiritually, emotionally. I have a much lighter touch on the world. I've also learned, and I learned it over and over and over again, that experience is what brings you happiness, not things. I can't remember that t-shirt we bought at the equator, but I can remember that afternoon of us trying to balance eggs on a pin and see which way the water would go down. And so I have a new philosophy in life, is do more and spend less. And that brings me to today. What am I doing? So I'm doing public speaking. I fell into this because everyone always wanted to know about my trip and I was terrified of speaking. But because I've got an A personality, I decided I am going to be the best speaker I can. I went on a professional speaking course. I've joined Toastmasters. I've spoken at Pecha Kucha, and I'm actually a speaking coach now at TEDx. But I'm also teaching people because I see so much that corporate will spend money on systems and on software, but not on training their people how to use it. And I hate when I see my friends struggling to do LinkedIn or Canva, and it's something to me that is so easy and logical. And so I'm doing training full-time now, all sorts of interesting things. And I'm looking forward to seeing all of you on a training course one day soon. Thank you, Linda.